Wisconsin is a state known for its great beer.
And behind every great beer is great brewing, great people, and great stories.
On this show, we're going to be talking to the people that are responsible for making the beer that we love.
We're here at HopCat in Madison, and this is Behind the Brews.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hi, I'm Fred Swanson. With me, as always, is my buddy Mark Alfred. We're here at Karben4 Brewery in Madison, Wisconsin. Karben4 has a very unique backstory. They took an existing location that had already been a successful brewery in Madison. They made it all their own. Let's go inside, have a beer with Ryan Koga, and tell some stories. We're here with Ryan Koga, brewer and owner of Karben4 Brewery. Ryan, thanks for having us out.
It's a pleasure to have you guys here, and my pleasure to be on the show and the podcast.
My first question is super serious. Do you believe in unicorns?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I believe everybody has unicorns and dragons.
Well, it's everywhere in kind of the ethos of the brewery. Okay,
Yeah.
It's on your website, it's on your labels. Tell us more about how you guys got to that point where we're just going to have fun with this goofy logo for Fantasy Factory.
You know, I like how you use the word fun, because before we ever brewed a drop of beer, before we opened our doors, we had a lot of discussions, months of discussions as we were putting together the business plan, the financing and such. And as we were trying to figure out who we were, what we were going to do, which led to, the name Karben4 and other things, the one thing we realized in the end was that, we're not selling beer, we're selling fun. You can put great liquid in the container, but if you don't capture people's imagination from the start, that's really where the beer experience starts at right away, and it can influence their tasting notes too. But we wanted that person to be in the supermarket, in the bottle shop, wherever they're going to go to get their beer, to see that packaging and think, I want to be the guy or gal carrying that in my arm. Everyone's going to think I'm super cool just because it's like making me feel good. So if you make somebody feel good just from just the interaction of just seeing the package, and they get to chuckle right then and there and have fun, that's where it all begins. But yeah, it was all about fun. We know that we're selling fun, and we want to connect that from start to finish, from first interaction, first glance to last drop. Everything's driven by that.
Quirkiness is a little bit not only part of the marketing, but it's part of your inherent personality. Tell us some more about yourself and what brought you into the brewing industry in general.
I'm the class clown. If anybody who gets to know me for more than 10 minutes kind of picks up on that. It doesn't matter what you're going through. It's pretty easy to just say, hey, like my kids are healthy, everybody's good, or I'm not storming the beaches of Normandy getting shot at right now, so I think whatever I'm going through right now is really not that bad. So I usually try to turn to the humor, and I think more than that, I even saying that I'm doing it is kind of misleading, because I always tell people it's the circus brain. There's always cartoons going on, and usually if they make me laugh out loud, it's like another part of me is trying to make me physically laugh out loud, and if I do laugh out loud, then I feel like I have to share it with people. And so the quirkiness of the personality is definitely there.
Ryan, tell us where the name Karben4 came from.
That's one of the most often asked questions, and it's a good question. So if you ask myself or Alex or Zach, the other two, my other two partners, we'll all give a slightly different answer, because I think we all accepted it for our own reasons, but we all say the same things at the beginning, or agree upon a couple of things. One is that there's no direct translation. There's no direct interpretation of Karben4. Our goal was to not be thematic in our naming. If you had like Lumberjack Brewing or something, then everybody expect like Sawtooth Porter and Pine Board Porter, or it would just be like thematic, and we wanted to go away from that because we wanted the beers to have their own personalities, their own lives. Like maybe nobody even knew we were Karben4, they only knew Fantasy Factory, and that's fine with me, because they're connecting with something that means something to them, and in the end it still is business for the brewery, so everybody wins in that sense. When it comes down to it, carbon's the most fundamental element of organic life, and beer is one of the most fundamental elements of civilization. Not just modern civilization, but civilization as a whole. When I started learning about beer, the more I started reading and understanding the history of it and how its fingers were woven into everything from ancient Sumeria up through today, I just had no clue. I had no idea, and I was so impressed with that, thinking of the history and tradition of it, that it sucked me in. So Karben was that. There's 4 valence electrons to carbon, but that's not why it's 4. We took the phonetic spelling. It was all angular, and the number 4 looked angular with it. And I think we were having Thai food and drinking some beers, and it got to the point where everybody was like Karben4, and everybody kind of paused for a second, and nobody said, I hate it. And so we were like, let's just take it and move on. We're going to go to the next problem. And I think all of us went home to our significant others that night and were very anxious about proposing the name. And they all gave us, I don't know, what is that? And then we figured, you know, it's a name in and of itself. It doesn't really mean anything. It's going to help us, you know, as we define our brand, as our customers help us define who we are, it's going to be more thoroughly defined. You're either going to love it or hate it, but good luck for getting it. You know, it sticks in there.
So now you've had tremendous success with your ales and with your lagers. Was that by preference or market-driven strategy?
If you look at our original business plan, our original discussions, we thought we'd be doing, especially in Wisconsin, doing a lot more malt-driven beers. And then our plan was to have 3 to 4 flagships that were more malt-driven, like the smoked porter, the amber, and the red and such. And then we were going to have a rotating IPA and change it up 4 times a year, because there were so many things to have happen, but I didn't know it was going to be received as well. And actually, the first IPA we did was Silk Scorpion, the black IPA, and the second one we did was this Fantasy Factory India Pale Ale, and we haven't been able to stop brewing it since. You know, I was told early on, you know, in the end, you don't get to choose what beer you're brewing; it's the customer. And there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, there's still a lot that we get to choose to do, especially with these small batch series like we're doing that. But you know, Fantasy Factory, we're brewing 7 days a week now, and usually 5 days of that is Fantasy Factory. We probably resisted the flagship label for a good 2 years before we finally said, yeah, you know what? The customer, the consumer, our fans who are keeping our doors open are telling us that Fantasy Factory is our flagship beer, and so we've gone with that and been happy to do so, because the recipe is not that hard to brew. So probably my staff are very appreciative of that as well.
So a bunch of people leave in their 20s, they go somewhere else in the country. You found your way back to the Midwest.
Yeah.
Talk about how that feels to be a business owner and brewing back kind of in your home state.
It's incredible. I grew up in Appleton, and then, as I said, went to undergrad at Green Bay. And when I headed west, I didn't know what was going to happen. And I left all of that family that I had known, you know, big pieces of me, big pieces of my heart. And we all stayed in contact, we still do to this day. To be able to come back to where they are and to do the thing that I fell in love with as a profession and became good at, and to be able to share it with them directly rather than just on random road trips, was very important to me. And in fact, they helped with a lot of the process in here. My dad's an architect as well, and a project manager, and you know, Zach's a civil engineering by trade and by profession before all this, so they helped a lot with the construction stuff. My dad's, there's lots of little projects I could point to around here that were directly him, like the pass-through trays and the serving windows was him on a Saturday when he was bored and wanted to help. And we're like, hey, always got a project for you. And the walls that have been helped me capped and changed, the grain room doors he and I built when my son was born, my first son was born. And then my best friends, they would come down here on the weekends and they would do all these projects. They would hang out. It was just so good to have them in my life again and to be a part of their lives again. There's so many things that they've helped from the very advent of this brewery, and you know, they get free beer for life, pretty much is how that goes. I just passed the 6-year anniversary, it's August 21st when I moved back to Wisconsin. So every year that kind of hits home, and it just seems like a dream.
Ryan, thanks for having us out. It was great to talk. You can catch us always at isthmus.com/Behind the Brews, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers. Sanja.